What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of LKD Talks. My name is Emmanuel LKD, and let's unplug and be real for a sec. Now, today, we got a very special guest. I've known this man for quite a while. He is a rapper, fellow TikTok star. Please welcome J. Crum. Yeah.
What's going on? What's going on? A TikTok star. That's interesting. That's what's up. I didn't know that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, bro, because that's the biggest platform, right?
It is. It is. It is. It is. Yeah. I guess so. A little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go, man. All right, J. Crum, how you doing, man?
I've been all right, man. I've been all right. Just waking up a little bit, but I'm still doing good. So,
Oh, I got you, brother.
how you feeling?
I'm feeling good too, man. Feeling good. I'm actually really excited to talk to you because, uh, like we mentioned off camera, there's so much for us to talk about because it's been a while.
Really?
So yeah, man.
Really
All
has
right.
been.
All right. Can you give the audience a rundown about who you are, what you do, and why you do it?
Yeah. So, I am J. Crum. I make hip hop music. I also do a lot of things. I do graphic design, market for artists and small businesses. I make a lot of content around mental health, around deconstruction, around decolonization, and uh, yeah, I used to be in the Christian hip hop space, no longer in that space. Still got love for it, but yeah, I'm just lot of change and transition recently in life. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Nice, nice. And I just want to clarify too. I kind of felt bad that I just went off the bat and called you a TikTok star, but
Oh no, you're good, man. You're good. Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel bad
okay.
about it. I love TikTok, so we're good. Yeah, yeah. I go
Yeah,
viral.
man. Yeah, man. I noticed like especially like during quarantine or just after quarantine too, you started like making a whole lot of content for TikTok and then you just grew, you just had a big following.
Mhm.
So I kind of want to talk on, well, actually before we talk about TikTok, I want to talk about uh your musical journey
Mhm.
and how you started. So how
Yeah,
did you start making hip hop music and what inspired you to make it?
yeah. So I wrote my first song. Um, I wrote my first song for a talent show for my church.
Okay.
So the church was they're throwing together a talent show. Me and my friend, a youth group, were like, let's do a rap. And there was a guy in the church who was a producer and ran a studio out of his house and stuff. So we came to his house. He made us a little beat, and we wrote our verses and everything. And that was the first song I had ever written. Right. A little bit after that, I got really sick,
Hmm.
and so they used to send a tutor to my house to so I wouldn't fall behind in school. What ended up happening is I actually got ahead, and so
Hmm.
when I returned to school, I had 3 study halls. So to fill up my time, because I was a smart kid,
Yeah.
I did quick, so I had at least 2 study halls where I had nothing to do. So I would download beats off of this website called SoundClick, and I would burn them on a CD to show my age, burn them on a CD, and with my little CD disc player and my headphones, I would put my head down, and because I wasn't supposed to listen to music, I would put my head down,
Yeah.
I would start writing, and I wrote my whole first mixtape doing it just like that.
Wow.
And yeah, and somebody from the church was like, "Yo, I'll pay for your studio time." And yeah, so that's kind of how I got started. 17 years old, first mixtape. It's somewhere out there. Uh, I'm not gonna help anybody find it, but but it
It's
exists.
under a different name.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. It is definitely under a different name, but yeah, it's somewhere out there in the internet. But yeah,
Uh, okay, I'm guessing you're not gonna, disclose that name to us. Okay.
It's that bad. It's that bad. This is why I'll never tell somebody to start rapping, right? Because I know how my first record sounded. So, you know.
Mm, mm. Okay, word, man. Hey, yo, shout out to that producer from church, man. Shout out to them.
Yeah. Aries. Appreciate you, man. Jim too. If you I don't know if y'all would ever listen to this, but if you are, thank you.
Sweet. All right, sweet. And so you did mention that you were in the Christian hip hop space before,
For
and
very
then
long
now you're out of it.
time.
So, what inspirations did you have back then, and what inspirations do you have now? Did some of that translate over, or
Yeah.
what attributes left when you left CHH?
That's a good question. Very good question, actually. Influences then were cross movement when I first started. Lecrae came out right around the same time I started. Um, R Swift, K Drama, a lot of like Christian rappers were my influences early on. You know, 'cause I started as a Christian rapper, right?
Hmm.
I was never like, oh, I rap, and then I got converted, and then like, nah, out the gate, I was on that type of time, you know.
Gate.
And yeah, Lecrae, all of them, cross movement, um, gospel gangsters, like all of that. I mess with all that type of stuff, cross movement, gospel gangsters, all that stuff. So so I ended up so I guess as far as the things that have changed or influences now, um as I like I feel like as I grew and start kind of became a little less like legalistic in my thinking, um I started having more different influences. Like I had like Kanye West. I love Kanye West.
Mhm.
Uh, when Kendrick came out, I was like, dude, what in the world? Like this is crazy. J. Cole,
Yeah.
um, you know, Jay-Z. I love Jay-Z. Nas, Outkast. So those people are still like I would say influences on sounds for me or just an artistry for me. So I thought they were cool, you know.
Mm.
I would say that now um I don't know. I think I take all of it. Even the Christian artists, I feel like I don't think I can just like I don't think it's fair to just be like, all right, you know,
Mm. Mhm.
y'all are cool for a time. I'm out. Like, no, I really
Mm.
still like love people in that genre. I still listen to the music. Sometimes I was just listening to Minio the other day. Um, Song Clarity, I ended up sharing it. That song is so good, you know. But yeah, I'm still of the belief because people would say like, oh, like Christian music is corny and stuff like that. And I don't believe that. You
Mm.
know, I think a lot of people feel like you have to like stop making Christian music to like fit in somewhere. And that's not true, you know. It's really about the quality of what you're saying. As long as you present it in a way that's not corny, then it's cool. You know, when you got somebody like a YG, right? Most people don't agree with gang violence, right? Most people don't think you should be shooting, and you know, people and most people don't agree with like drug dealing and all that type of stuff. Most people don't, right? But they'll still listen to the music, right? Because it's good.
Mm.
So it's not so much about, well, I agree with everything that you're saying. Is the music good? Because if it's good, I rock with it. And so I say all that to say, like, I don't think, in a lot of ways, I haven't lost those influences that I had even as a kid, those Christian influences, because, like, you know, they still made me who I am. So,
Mm. That's good. Yeah, that's
yeah.
good. Something I noticed too, with something that you still have in your music is that level of transparency and just being open, being an open book, wearing your heart on your sleeve type
Mhm.
beat. You know, it's like And I think that's just like throughout your whole musical journey as well. Like whether it's vigilantes or valiant, man,
Mhm.
like you're just honest and I appreciate that because I feel like a lot of people will, or not a lot of people, but some artists will try to keep a facade or something like that.
Yeah.
And like so so then with that kind of just transitioning, just making a cold transition then, uh how did how did deconstruction influence your music? I know that's a super cold
Hey, no,
transition,
no, I
but
understand. I understand. How did it influence my music? That's, man, great question. I think for me, kind of what you were saying, like my approach to music has always been transparent, right? So I don't know if my deconstruction necessarily influenced my or changed the way that I make music. I think the story was just told through music because I'm
mm,
already transparent, you know.
hmm.
So I've always approached music with transparency. So yeah, the medium of which I chose to tell my story was music, you know. Um,
Mm,
and so yeah, so you start opening up, and I mean I think a lot of those thoughts started as far back as villains. Like
mm,
you start hearing some themes and villains of like asking questions, and saying, man, some of these things don't make sense. It feels like the harder that I try, the further I get from, I said that in odd and village, so it's like there's these things of like, man, what is going, like something doesn't feel right, and I feel like those feelings started to grow as you get to, vigilantes, and then it starts to grow as you get to um, um, Vagabond. Vagabond is like full of those questions, full of that. And then
mm-hmm,
Valiant is like, okay, we're really unpacking these things now. And
mm.
here's kind of where I've arrived, and here's how I got here. And yeah, so I think it's the transparency just exists because it's
Mm.
always existed. So yeah.
I love that. Yeah, it's like your music is literally a window for your soul and
Mhm.
just to show where you've been your whole journey.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's been like a diary for me.
Mm,
Um, and which is always tough, right? Because like when you have that extra layer of vulnerability when you release music, because there's this like, all right, well, I'm gonna put this out, but I'm also just talking about how I don't want to be here anymore. Like, like,
yeah.
so be nice to me, please. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, bro,
yeah,
that's true though.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sensitive, man. I'm sensitive. Um, and I don't run from that anymore. I think there was a thing where I felt like I had to bury that part of it, right? Bury, yeah,
Mm,
don't be sensitive. That's not, bury that. You need to be tough. You need to be, stoic. You need to be stonewall. You need to be all that. And like, I don't know, man. I've had to learn to let go of that and really embrace there's nothing wrong with sensitivity.
mm,
Um, so I've learned to embrace some things like that. I know I went on a bit of a tangent, but yeah.
mm. Well, I mean, just kind of going off that tangent, then how did you learn to embrace sensitivity and learn to kind of drop the ways of toxic masculinity?
Mm-hmm. Um, I'm gonna sound super woke when I say this, but it's okay. Um, I realized that like uh, a lot of that comes from white supremacy.
Mm,
That these a lot of these like patriarchal tropes, right? That come and tell us that men, you have to be tough. You don't get to cry. Um, you you know you exist to provide. You know um, all of those things that kind of like reduce us to a function, right? You know, trying to unlearn those things or actively unlearning those things involved me embracing the things that people would say is feminine, right? No, I'm sensitive. I do have mental health issues. You know, I do it is okay to cry, you know. It is okay to communicate your feelings. It is okay to be sad, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um like so I think in a lot of ways, the more I've said those things of okay, what things in my life are the result of white supremacy, right? Because in a lot of ways we take these things that were never meant for us and we try to adopt them and we try to make it work for us, right? But when you look at what happens, especially for Black men, right? When you decide to adopt the things that white supremacy tells you about masculinity, those are all the things that get us locked up, you know?
Mm.
Supposed to be tough. You're supposed to be, you know, you're supposed to not communicate your feelings. You're supposed to do so. Like you got Black men who aren't getting therapy, right? Who are holding all their feelings in, right? Who have to be hyper masculine, right? Who have to be hypersexual. Who have to be all of these different things, and because that's what they say that's what man is supposed to be. You know, you're supposed to have as much sex as possible. You're supposed to, you know, you're supposed to fight, you're supposed to throw hands, you're supposed to, that has messed us up, and so like unlearning those things um has been extremely important for me.
Mm. That's good, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Something to add on to with toxic masculinity as well. I know like as an immigrant household, like the generations before me, they didn't I would say most Asian, like the Asian generation that my dad is in, or the generation that my dad is in for Asian people, uh they didn't really have that way to communicate about mental health because
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
they didn't really
You're
open up
from
like
you're
that.
from you guys migrated from Lao?
Yeah, wow.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
so just I guess just Asian people in general, uh or the generation above me that is Asian, like they didn't have those uncomfortable talks. They just kind of just kept passive about it and locked it away, just kept going, which is dangerous because, like you said, we can't just keep our emotions just like bottled up and just kind of
Right.
keep them in. And I think I'm not just speaking for Asians, but just for any other race or culture that has had that past where they just don't talk about feelings.
Right, right.
And it's a blessing now in America, like as a first generation American, to have that access to talk about mental health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How is that? I mean, I'm sorry to say interview, but how does that show up like in ways like uh, when it comes to like taking care of your own mental health?
Hmm. That's a good question. And you're free to ask questions too. Like this
Okay,
is a
cool, cool, cool.
conversation. Yeah, it's a conversation. Yeah.
All
It's
right,
not just a
bet,
one-sided
bet.
interview. Yeah.
All right, bet. Cool, cool.
Yeah. Yeah. You're cool, man. So so the question you asked, like, how does that show up and how I take care of my mental health?
Yeah.
Let's see. How do I take care of my mental health? Honestly, going on walks,
Okay.
like bro walks, just being in
Good.
touch with nature, with uh, just the birds and the sun and just like breathing in and like especially being able to walk when it's like 7 p.m., seeing the sunset, stuff like that. It's just very enjoyable. That's how I take care of myself as well. And some
Hmm.
other forms of self-care. I would say for me, working out as well is kind
Hmm.
of, like, you know, getting the gains and then like taking the shirt off, looking in the mirror, and be like, ooh,
Yeah, yeah,
be like,
yeah.
yeah, like, ooh, I
Yeah.
like that.
Mhm.
So
Cool, cool.
yeah.
All
So
right, that's what's up.
yeah, so how do you take care of yourself with mental health? I remember you said something during Cam and Zarjosh's live stream, but I want you to talk about it, not
Yeah,
me.
no worries, no worries. So I go to therapy. Go to therapy every other week. I was going every week. I'm going every other week now. Um, I uh I do stuff like, bro, like I go like to the botanical gardens.
Okay, word,
Like, bro, I go and it's just like it's just nature and waterfalls, flowers, hummingbirds, all this stuff.
word, word.
Yeah, it's fire. I love it. I love it. Um, I I have plants, you know. So I'm a plant dad now. I just
Eh,
do um I yeah, I just find myself just kind of navigating life um freely, in a lot of ways. Just kind of navigating life and without expectation,
mm,
without outside expectation, if that makes sense. Like I have my own expectations for myself,
mm-hmm,
but like, there's things that I've found in my life that just don't serve me well.
mm-hmm,
And I think a lot of times we stay in those things, we tolerate those things because we feel like we have to, we're obligated to. It doesn't serve you well, we're not obligated to it, you know?
mm-hmm.
Except if it's like, when your kids or something. I would argue that that probably does serve you well to be a good father and mother, you
Yeah.
know? But yeah, no, there's a lot of things that just don't serve us well that we continue to tolerate and put and commit to.
Mm-hmm,
Uh, and so really this year has been a lot about uh, analyzing those things and figuring out those things. I spent 35 years in service to people, you know, people that didn't have my best interest, doing things I never wanted to do, never felt like doing, never, have no desire. But like because I felt like I had to, 35, I gave 34 years of that. Like the next 34, 35 years I got left, like that's mine. You know,
mm,
I'm
yeah.
lost. And um, one of the things I found was like choosing to love myself more has increased my capacity to love others. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I hear that, man. I hear that. It's like the idea of filling your cup to fill others
Hmm.
people's cups more efficiently.
Hmm.
It's like that same idea.
Right.
And like I really like what you said about going to the botanical gardens or just
Hmm.
doing things that didn't serve your best interest.
Hmm.
And just to kind of talk on that too, I have a friend in college. So like he's my best friend. He lives in Arizona. Shout out Ernest Armena if he's
Hey.
watching this. But he would ask me hard questions like whenever I would go through stuff. He would because like I was never open like that until he asked me hard questions. I would just be like, man, I don't know, man. And then he's like, no, you do know. Like just like talk to me about it. And I would get so uncomfortable, man. But it was a good uncomfortable to be able to kind of break down and analyze myself and really make me think about why I'm doing what I do. Like for me, bro, I'm a people pleaser at heart.
Yeah.
I'm a people
Yeah.
pleaser. So
Me too.
I want to make sure that, you know, I can please these people so that, I can, for example, get something in return from them
Hmm.
or that they'll like me back or something like that. So he helped me a lot with getting to know myself and know why I do the things that I do. So I'm wondering if you had anyone to kind of help you break down why you do what you do, and just to kind of love yourself more and appreciate yourself and know you more.
Yeah. Person to kind of help me basically know the things that I know now, and I don't know, I guess kind of become who I think um I have a few kind of indirect people, people who have kind of indirectly influenced me to take a deeper look. Um, but really, for me, it came down to like it became like a life or death situation for me.
Hmm.
Of being like, okay, look, if we don't figure this out, you're not going to be here much longer. You know, like we got to figure this out, buddy. You know, because it's not now. It's not just affecting like you; it's affecting the people around you, and like we got to get this figured out. It's like I can't be responsible for hurting someone. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
so I knew I had to like get that figured out. But then from there, like, um, finding people kind of into like, there's been some like I've connected with like Donnell, but there's a lot of Donnell Wrights on TikTok, and he's like he had a lot of content that was built around that, and me and him became friends and everything like that. But like it was his content that really helped me before we formed like a real friendship. Um, um, Getting into therapy, like my actual therapist, definitely helped me with that. I actually still have like a pastor friend who still is really great when it comes to just being there for conversations and talks and you know
Hmm.
questions and all that type of stuff. Um, so yeah, and I think now I have a big like it took a while to build it, but I have a pretty solid support system of people who continue to you know keep me accountable, you know,
Hmm.
and um, yeah, accountability is extremely important. I think when it comes to taking care of your own mental health, because like I think men especially we're very good at hiding
Hmm. Agreed.
how we feel and putting a smile on our face and just tucking our shoulder and just plowing forward, and so having people accountable like, hey man, you okay,
Hmm.
people who know my triggers or they know my masks, right? Because like certain things like one of my masks is I tell out if when I'm hurting or if I'm nervous or if I'm depressed or whatever, start telling a lot of jokes, right? I just get very goofy
Hmm.
um, because it's that layer, of like,
Yeah, I hear you. I feel it with that.
and if it's this thing, I don't know if I don't know if it's like, man, if I can bring other people joy, maybe I can get a little bit of it,
Hmm.
I don't know if it's that or what, but like, yeah, but there's friends who have started to pick up on like, yeah, Crum, that's hilarious, but are you okay? Like,
Hmm. Yeah.
like you all right,
Yeah, that's
and,
good. Yeah.
and yeah, yeah. So that's been those relationships have been really, really, really great.
That's good, man. That's good that you have a solid support system
Mm-hmm.
around you. And uh so kind of just coldly transitioning again
Yeah, all good.
with how you got the support system. I'm sure it was tough, especially during deconstruction
Yeah,
and to find a support system because bro, like when you deconstructed, there were a lot of just people in your comments just trying to like convert you back and whatever. And it was like I saw it too. I was like, yo, what is this? I was just
yeah.
like, who are these people? Like they don't know this guy. And
Mm-hmm.
then so, you know, I kind of want to talk about your deconstruction journey, and then we can kind of talk about how you gain support through all of that.
Yeah.
Uh and that whole journey of
It's
where you
cool.
are now. So like, so just to start off coldly, what was the catalyst of your deconstruction?
It's a really good question. It's a really good question. Um, Summer 2020. It's kind of what steamrolled everything, right?
Mm,
The beginning of the year, I had started planning a church. I had a church called Slingshot Church. Anybody who followed me around that time probably saw some of my like sermon videos, and I was doing Bible studies every week, and you know, which like I don't know, CHH fans say they talk a lot of like read your Bible and do all this stuff, but I promise you, y'all was not trying to jump into Bible studies. I just wanna um anyway. Um sorry, let me see. Sure, I'm popping up. Anyway, so I ended up like that summer was rough, right? Because
mhm.
on that summer, um a lot of like we were confront America was kind of forced to look at itself, right? And um I was dealing with a lot of things with like the George Floyd situation. Here in Omaha, there was a young man named James Scurlock who was killed in the middle of the street, you know,
Yeah.
and by a white business owner who didn't face any charges for it, right? And so at this point, you know, I'm a pastor in the city, but I'm trying to lead protests. I'm doing all that, you know, and it wasn't so much the silence of the church that pissed me off. It was the active um, opposition, right? Like you're
Mhm.
going out of your way to oppose equity.
Mm.
You know, you're going out of your way to oppose this movement. You're going out of your like I'm putting together protests. There was this one of the biggest pastors in the city showed up to one of my protests, right? Showed up, refuses to like there's other like inner city pastors in there with me, refuses to join us in prayer, refuses to have any take any part of what we're doing, right? Ends up going on his Facebook later and was like, black, I believe Black Lives Matter, but Black actions do too. So basically saying like,
Dang.
you know, these people are responsible for their own demise,
Man,
right? And
man, I'm
it
sorry.
was just it was this active opposition, right? And it just there's a lot of things that happened that summer that you know, for the sake of time, I won't get into, but it was it was enough for me to be like, okay, God, if I'm going to continue to fight for this, right? If I'm going to continue to really hold on to, because I'm done. At this point, I'm pretty much like I'm done with church. I'm not done with Christianity, right? There's a few things that were going on, but I was like, God, if this is, I need to like truly know that this is real. I need to truly like get firm in my faith and everything like that because this stuff is about to get crazy, you know. Because we didn't like at that point, I didn't know if churches were going to open back up. I didn't know anything, so I was like, okay, this is a perfect time to really get serious about, you know,
Mm.
my faith practice and why I believe what I believe, and you know, looking for arming myself with apologetics and you know all that type of stuff. So what I ended up doing in an effort to firm up my faith, to shore up my faith, in an effort to shore up um, um, my wealth of knowledge of scripture and church history and everything like that, I invested heavily into apologetics.
Mm.
Um, and so I'm watching Christian versus atheist debates. You know, I am. taking a look at like church history. I'm taking a look at the Dead Sea Scrolls. I'm taking a look at like all of these things that uh, would, at least what I felt like would help strengthen my faith, right? Strengthen my argument, strengthen all that. Because I got to hold on to this thing. Because like, whatever I'm seeing with the church, it's not, ain't it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The opposite starts happening where the argument no longer starts to make sense to me. I'm no longer able to like the things that like existed as extra biblical evidence, at least for me, no longer held up. The enough things within scripture was disproven to me, to where I was like, dang. So it wasn't like a thing where I was just like, okay, one day, boom, I'm done. It was a long process. It was about a year and a half process of like unpacking things and be like, oh dang, okay, well, I've read this, I've seen this translation, this actually means this. Um, that's no longer part of my faith practice. And I would still say I was Christian, but it was like, okay, well, I no longer think this is a sin, or I no longer believe this is a concept, or I no longer, without getting, because I don't want to like influence anybody else to, if they want to look at it and they want to do that, cool. But like, I don't want to like say too much because I don't want to offend anyone. Um, but yeah, that's what happened for me, right? And but it got to the point to where I was like, dang, I don't know if I can continue to claim Christianity. Here's the complicated thing. I'm in Christian music. Right? I'm in Christian music. I'm, a lot of my fans are Christian. A lot of people are bringing me to the events because I'm Christian. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah,
there was just a lot. Like, so for me, as far as it comes to like making that announcement, because I'll be honest with you, man. There are a lot of Christian artists who don't actually believe in God at all, at all, and continue to make Christian music because that's their bread and butter, or they're at least ambiguous about it because that's their bread and butter,
right?
And so, but for me, I was like, I can't, I know what this means, right? I know this means that I'm probably going to lose my fan base. I know this means I'm probably going to lose my support system. I know what this means, but like, I couldn't, I had to be open. I had to be honest about it. I couldn't continue to, I had spent so much time like trying to like please people. I was like, why to arrive to where you don't even believe that it's real anymore and to still be controlled by the by trying to please people. Like, nah, bro, you didn't come this far to still be in bondage, right? So so yeah, I made my announcement and I knew what it meant, and everything that I was afraid would happen happened.
Man, yeah.
But there's a lot of like amazing things that are on the opposite side of fear.
Such as
freedom. And freedom in a sense of like, I'm no longer weighed down by the opinions of people. Freedom in, I no longer am afraid that my decisions are going to lead me to hell. Freedom in a sense of like, I can openly love myself and people don't think I'm being arrogant. Or people could still think I'm being arrogant, but I don't feel like I'm being arrogant. You know what I mean? Like,
Gotcha. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
um, freedom in a sense of um, I internalized a lot of things, man. I internalized that like nothing good that I did mattered. Those things were as filthy rags. I internalized, you know,
Hmm.
um, that I'm a sinner deserving of death. I internalized that, you know. Um, so to get away from that felt freeing to me, you know.
Mm.
Um, there's a lot more story to that and everything like that. But like I said, for the sake of time, I don't want to.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right, man. I appreciate that transparency, man. I appreciate hearing your story and hearing to where you've become now. Excuse me. Excuse me. And yeah, and uh what I was gonna say too, just from hearing your stories, especially on TikTok, I've seen, like occasionally it'll show up in my For You page, you talking about decolonization, deconstruction, and I would be interested. I'd be like, oh, interesting. It's interesting to hear your perspective and your story too. And of course, like you said, it wasn't easy at all. Like,
yeah,
like not easy at all for you to go through that. And so how did you deal with the people in your comments, trying to reconvert you or trying or just like name calling you?
yeah,
And another question adding on to that, how did you find support uh
yeah.
for yourself
Good
to get
questions.
through all of that?
Hmm. Um, I went through phases of how I dealt with people like that. I think at first I would respond and I felt like I had to explain myself and I felt like I had to, you know, no, actually this is the reason why. And actually, then eventually you learn that like they don't really care why you did it.
Hmm.
They're going to already assign a reason to it because they need the reason to align with their worldview, right? They needed to be, oh, you left because you just wanted to have sex and do drugs and do all that. Like you left because you want the acceptance of the world. You left because da, da, da. You left because you never believed in the first place. They need that to fit their narrative because if it doesn't, then it's like, oh, this is a person who actually did love God, a person who actually did believe, a person who actually did do these things for the right reasons, and he left. He saw something and he left. That's scary. That is scary. And I get that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But like, it's none of your business.
Yeah.
So I went
Yeah.
through phases, right? So I went through phases of trying to explain. Then I went through a phase of like my villain era where I'm just trolling everybody who had something negative to say. And then I went and then now I'm kind of at the place where I'm just like, just ignore it. Like
Mm.
you don't deserve my response. You don't deserve my time. You know, if you're coming at me respectful, or you're just kind of like, hey, I just genuinely want to know. I just genuinely want to have a conversation. I have no problem talking to you,
Mm.
right? But if you're a person that's like, yo, I'm here to like, you can figure it out pretty early. Like you're just here to bash me and
Hmm.
not hear what I have to say because that sometimes it's this thing of like I respect my beliefs as long as you respect or you respect I respect your beliefs as long as you respect mine. Oftentimes that's a lot of that's on one sided. Like what you really looking for is one sided, right? Because um respect means um like I'm not granted a lot of times especially when I'm speaking with Christians, I'm not granted the same respect as like my viewpoints being valid, right? It's this thing of like I can have a conversation, like you and me can have a conversation, right? And you can tell me about God, Jesus, this is how the world was created and everything like that. And I can be like, hey, there's probably there might be some validity. I don't know. You don't, like, none of us truly know. But I think there's
Right.
probably some validity in what you're saying. Like it could be real. I could be wrong about all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's not that same conversation happening with oftentimes with Christians where they're even open to the idea of being wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes it's not a two-way street where it's like, oh no, Josh, you might be right. This could, there might there you're right. We don't know who's in the, we don't know what happens after we die. Truly, we don't know if everything we read is true. We don't like there's not that exchange that's happening,
Mm-hmm.
and so oftentimes like we don't those conversations don't go anywhere, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
Yeah, it's more so just about, yeah, I hear you with that too, because I feel like a lot of people, a lot, or if not some people, are insecure in their own faith and like
mhm.
insecure in what they believe, and they need to hear what someone else is saying to, validate what they believe in. Do you see
Yeah,
that
yeah,
sometimes?
yeah. I think it's a like it's more it helps like it helps add to like the validity. The more people that believe what I believe, or the more people around that believe what I believe, makes me feel like, okay, what I believe isn't so crazy,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But imagine being the only person, right, who believed that a man was crucified, died, and 3 days later rose out of the grave. Imagine being the only person who believed that. Like people would think you were insane. That's a crazy
Mm-hmm.
story. People think you were insane. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
but get enough people around you who are all saying the same thing. It doesn't feel so crazy anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I'm not saying to say that like it didn't happen, right? I don't want anybody to take that from me. I'm just saying that's if somebody was like, oh yeah, my son died and 3 days later got up, you're like, bro, you're lying. That didn't happen. Like that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um,
Yeah.
somebody came up and said, no, this is, so it's a wild story. And not to say that it didn't happen. I'm just saying that um, I'm
That's
just
not
saying,
what you believe.
yeah. And I don't know, like, but the more people who believe it, the more validity that's given to it, right? And so, um, so yeah, that's where that comes from for me. I think
Mm.
so. No.
Yeah, and something I appreciate too, that what I'm getting from our conversation is
Mhm.
uh that you're saying as well that this is what you believe. You're not trying to force your belief on anyone else. You're just sharing your story. And I
Right,
think
right.
that's that's what's missing in a lot of conversations between people with different beliefs, where it's
Mhm.
like, I'm not trying to force you to be a Christian. I just want you to hear what I'm saying. Like, for
Yeah,
example, like
yeah.
I had this conversation with someone who believes in the Sikh religion. Are
Mhm.
are you familiar with that?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, so like I had a conversation with him, and we just had a conversation just to kind of understand each other's points. Like we didn't necessarily agree, but we came to an understanding to just agree to disagree. And I
Mhm.
think we need more conversations like that instead of people
Absolutely.
bashing and bashing just for their own pride, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then something to ask you as well with support. How did you find supports? Because I feel like based on the content, I mean, I'm just kind of observing as well from TikTok, especially because that's your biggest platform now. You made music, you made music TikToks on there. You also made deconstruction TikToks on there. Your story, mental health, decolonization content. And I feel like that also indirectly gave you support, right? Because there were some people in the comments that are like, "Oh, wow, he's saying what I've been thinking," right? Like,
Mhm.
is that a part of it? Would you say, or how did you get support in your deconstruction journey?
Um, Slowly, very slowly. Um, there was a long um phase of time where I was really lonely, man. There wasn't a lot of people who were reaching out. There wasn't a lot of people who were trying to understand. Um, and like there's a lot of people who walked away because like, we didn't share this commonality anymore. Um, and for a lot of people, that's like it was, share this foundation of commonality, you know, um, which is, a lot of ways was messed up. But slowly but surely, just started meeting more people who were on the same journey. Who's, whether they found my content or whether we knew each other and they're on the same thing. Um, it took a while, but I feel like I kind of have a solid group of people now, you know,
Mm,
who really, really rock with me. So yeah.
mm, I like that. Yeah, and I like too that you are, you're you are valiant, no pun intended, but like you are valiant, you are resilient, and I respect your perseverance, man. Like I respect your grind and your work, and just for you to keep pushing, because I would occasionally see, on TikTok how you respond to people and how you or basically just what you've told me about your phases of responding to
Yeah,
people and how you just completely just ignore them now. So that's what's up, man.
I appreciate
And something I want to just to wrap this up, uh like I want to get to the part of the podcast where I want to ask what's on your mind. So for LKD Talks, I like this to be a weekly journal entry,
it. Mhm.
whether it's something heavy on your mind or something light on your mind. uh what's something that's on your mind this past week?
Um, that's a good question. I think um I think for me, one of the biggest things I've been learning is like, um, I don't think I can only speak for me, but I think there's people who can relate. I don't think we spend enough time um, really giving ourselves credit.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things that like we have been through that we've overcome, we've seen victory over that like if we really sat down and thought about it, you're like, yo, that was crazy. Like you're okay. You went through that, you're okay, you know?
Hmm.
Um, I think oftentimes when you feel it, like we don't give ourselves enough credit for things like that. And I don't know if it's this thing of being like feeling like giving myself credit is wrong or arrogant or prideful or something like that. I don't know where that comes from, but or maybe we're just our own worst critics because we get to see the good, bad, and the ugly.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think we give ourselves enough credit for the things that we've been able to push through. You know?
Hmm.
So those are my thoughts.
That's good. So how did you learn to give yourself credit and
I'm still learning.
to learn?
Still learning. But really, like, really, I think slowing down was big for me. Slowing down, taking a step back, and really looking at things and being like, oh wow, like you made it through. Like that's really dope. Like you made it
Hmm.
through. So, um, yeah, I don't know. That would be mine.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. Thanks for sharing that. That's just making
Oh,
me
of
think
course.
about because like as creatives and artists, we really do beat ourselves up a lot. Like one day we'll create something that's like what's the term called? Magnus opum? Is that the right word?
Mhm.
Yeah, like Magnus Open. We'll think it's the greatest thing ever, and then the next day we're just super down on ourselves. Like, ah, dang, man. Like, oh man, like only I don't know, like 20,000 people like my video or whatever. I don't know. But
Right.
like we'll just get down ourselves on the littlest things, but like giving ourselves credits, like you said, even
Yeah.
just for the little things, just being like, I'm glad I get to have this conversation with someone over Zoom. And I'm glad I get to have this microphone, just to be able to make music with or make a podcast with.
Hmm.
I'm glad I'm able to meet all of these creative people
Right.
through Instagram, TikTok, Vine, not Vine. I said Vine. I didn't mean to say.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but
I
just
miss, I miss mine.
bro, I miss Vine too. I miss Vine too. I will say TikTok is a little better than Vine. No, yeah, it's definitely better than Vine.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah, that's what I got to say too. All right,
No,
Crum.
this was great to talk, man. This was really
Yeah,
great.
man. I appreciate the talk too, man. I appreciate your transparency. Appreciate you sharing your story,
Of
and
course.
just hearing what you went through and how you're learning to overcome it as well, whether it's mental health or victory. And just to end this up, man, do you have anywhere that the people can follow you? Anything that you want to plug and share?
Yeah, you can follow me everywhere at J Crum Music, at JCRUMMUSIC, daycrummusic.com. And yeah, I'm dropping music all the time. So I just dropped a single called Too Sweet. But yeah, a lot more music on the way. So
Awesome. All right, y'all. Well, I appreciate you watching in. Go follow Jay Crum, hear his story, hear his music. And I hope you all have a blessed rest of your week and peace out. Take care, y'all.